Good evening. My name is Rob Trewartha, and I'm delighted to be your host for tonight's City of Mississauga Budget Information Session. The city is inviting residents to participate in the 2025 budget discussion by phone or online. Joining me this evening is Mississauga Mayor Carolyn Parrish, the Chair of Budget Committee, Ward 11 Councillor Brad Butt, the Vice Chair of Budget Committee, Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasco, members of City Council, and the city's leadership team. Before we hear more from our speakers, let me start by explaining how tonight's budget information session will work. Right now, residents from all over Mississauga are answering their phones and connecting into the discussion by phone or online. We will hear from Mayor Parrish shortly and our Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, Marissa Chu. After that, it will be your turn. You will have a chance to ask your questions of the mayor and city staff and raise issues that you think are critical to Mississauga's 2025 budget. If you have a question or comment about the city's 2025 budget but don't get a chance to ask it during tonight's session, you can send it to the following email address: budget@mississauga.ca. That's budget@mississauga.ca. Throughout the session, we will also be asking you questions in the form of quick polls. I will read out a question and some multiple choice responses, and you will be able to use your keypad to respond. Here are a few things to keep in mind when you ask your question tonight. When using your phone to ask a question, please press *3 on your keypad and you'll be routed to an operator who will ask you to provide your name and the nature of your question. You can start to do this now. For those of you joining us online tonight, please type your question into the question field and we'll put it into the queue to be answered live later. Please try to keep your questions as brief as possible. There's a lot of people on the line tonight and we want to try to get to as many of your questions as we can. Remember to make sure that your question is about the 2025 budget and priorities for next year. Again, for those just joining, my name is Rob Trewartha, and I'm excited to be your moderator for the 2025 budget information session with Mayor Parrish, our budget chair and vice chair, members of council, and our city's leadership team. It's my job to keep this conversation moving smoothly and to make sure that we get to hear your thoughts and have as much discussion as possible. Before we start getting to your questions, I would like to invite the mayor to say a few words. Mayor Parrish, what would you like Mississauga residents to know about the city's 2025 budget?
Whether you've joined us by phone or through the live stream, I want to thank you for your time this evening and your interest in the city's 2025 budget. Before we get started, I will reintroduce our Budget Committee leaders, our Chair, Ward 11 Councillor Brad Butt, our Vice Chair, Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasco. All the colleagues on council are joining us online. Deputy Mayor and Ward 8 Councillor Matt Mahoney, Ward 2 Councillor Alvin Tedjo, Ward 3 Councillor Chris Fonseca, Ward 4 Councillor John Kovac, Ward 5 Councillor Natalie Hart, Ward 6 Councillor Joe Hornick, Ward 7 Councillor Deepika Demirla, Ward 9 Councillor Martin Reed, and Ward Councillor Sue McFadden. Our senior leadership team is also here to answer your budget questions. Jeff Wright, the City Manager and Chief Administrative Officer, and his commissioners, Andrew Whittemore, Planning and Building, Jody Robolos, Community Service, Raj Sheth, Corporate Services, Sam Rogers, Transportation and Works. And our Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, Marissa Chu, is here to provide detailed information on this year's budget numbers. Over the last 2 days, we've been in Budget Committee reviewing the proposed budget for 2025. But the budget process doesn't just happen in November. It takes place all year round. Council is listening to you, and we know the challenges you face because we face them with you. The cost of living continues to climb, and affordability is top of mind for everyone. In fact, your concerns are top of mind at City Hall as we work on the budget. We are committed to providing the quality services you expect while keeping property taxes manageable. We're facing significant financial challenges. Rising costs for essentials like fuel, utilities, and supplies are straining our budget. Inflation, infrastructure maintenance, severe weather events like this summer's historic floods, and downloading from other levels of government put a strain on our budget. When the economy grows, the revenue of the federal and provincial governments grow, but the city does not grow. We must deal with inflation without revenue from income and consumption taxes. Property taxes are our only source. With these limited revenue sources, we're working diligently to manage these complex economic realities. We're committed to a balanced budget that maintains essential services while supporting growth. I've appointed Councillors Butt and Dasco to lead the Budget Committee, given their expertise and experience, and frankly, their proven track records of being frugal with taxpayers' dollars. 2 weeks after taking office, I convened a housing task force to collaborate with industry experts on addressing our housing crisis. We are taking a proactive approach to Mississauga's challenges. Unaffordable housing puts incredible strain on a family's budget. To set the context, your tax dollars directly support services like roads, parks, snow removal, and emergency services. Only 37% of your property tax revenue stays in Mississauga to fund more than 200 programs in 13 service areas. 16% is distributed to the Ontario government for education, and a full 47% goes to the region of Peel for essential services like paramedics, police, waste management, public health, and water treatment. Peel Region's proposed budget of $3.2 billion for 2025 will drive a significant portion of your property tax pressure, because in the end, it's all on one tax bill. Around 26% of the region's budget is dedicated to police services, which serve both Brampton and Mississauga. The police budget continues to climb. While I support investments in public safety where needed, I believe it's important to thoroughly understand the issues and explore various solutions. In the end, Council must accept the police budget without amendment set by the Police Services Board. The police budget is increasing by 21.3% going into 2025. I'm proud of the investments we are making in this year's budget, from increased transit service to providing free transit to seniors and children under 12, to investing in the clearing of windrows at the bottom of your driveway after it snows, and so much more. I'm proud that we continue to maintain a AAA credit rating and are one of the best managed cities in Canada. Tonight's session is your opportunity to clarify how you would like to see your property tax dollars spent. Understanding how the city's budget is developed is important. We want to ensure your voice is heard and that you clearly understand the budget's impact on you. Over the next 90 minutes, we will take questions from you. I look forward to the participation of all who are waiting online. Thank you for joining us this evening. Your interest and engagement are highly appreciated. Now I'll hand it back to our moderator, Rob. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Parrish. For those of you just joining us, my name is Rob Twartha. I'm your moderator for this evening's 2025 budget session, and I'm pleased to be here with Mississauga Mayor Carolyn Parrish, the Budget Chair and Vice Chair, members of Council, and the city's leadership team to talk about the 2025 budget for Mississauga. Just a reminder, you can press *3 on your phone at any time to get in line to ask a question. You can also participate in this discussion online by visiting the city's website at mississauga.ca/budget. There you can listen to the discussion live and ask questions by typing them into the question field. We are talking about your priorities tonight as the city prepares the budget for 2025. In a short while, we'll be taking live questions. But to set the stage for the budget, I'd now like to turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, Marissa Chu, who's going to provide a quick overview of the proposed 2025 budget. Marissa, over to you.
Thank you, Rob. Good evening, everybody. I'm Marissa Chu, CFO and Treasurer at the City of Mississauga, and I will be providing a high-level recap of the 2025 budget. The City of Mississauga's 2025 budget book was released on the city's website on October 29th, and it outlines how and where the city plans to allocate its resources to meet service expectations in the coming year. This document also captures the city's property tax levy requirements for 25, and you can access our budget book by clicking our budget document tile through mississauga.ca/budget. The 2025 budget document not only provides information about next year's budget for council deliberation, but also includes a 3-year operating forecast from 2026 to 2028, as well as the city's capital budget and 10-year capital plan. And just as a reminder, under the Municipal Act, the city cannot budget a deficit and must present a balanced budget. Under the strong mayor powers legislation that came into effect last year, the mayor is responsible for tabling the budget for council consideration. And our mayor may also choose to delegate the budget preparation responsibilities to staff. And in August, Mayor Parrish had directed staff to prepare a staff recommended budget, and note that the budget timelines around the 30-day budget amendment limitation period would still apply. And council will also have the opportunity to propose budget amendments on or before next Wednesday at our November 27th council meeting. As you can see in this chart, around 57% of the city's revenue comes from property taxes. And property tax is the main revenue tool for the city of Mississauga, as the Municipal Act limits the municipality's ability to raise revenues through other means. And the remainder comes from other sources such as user fees, provincial funding, our payment in lieu of taxes, and other transfers and recoveries. And last year, council had approved a net operating levy requirement of 682 million. And this year, we are proposing a 53 million or 7.2% budget increase to 735 million. On the second line on the chart, you'll see that due to inflationary impacts of labor and supplier cost, we are proposing a $14.7 million increase to offset those impacts in order to maintain our existing service levels. And this number also includes the 2025 annualization of in-year transit service expansion costs that were approved in 2024. We are also identifying offsets of roughly 1.3 million in cost savings and efficiencies across multiple service areas. And this is through staff's review of our budget trends and other anticipated forecasted changes in 25. And we're also projecting a 0.6% property assessment growth that will help reduce the budget impacts. And we're also recommending continuation of our 2 special purpose levies, including our 3% capital infrastructure and debt repayment levy, and the 1% increase to our public safety fire program. And in the next few slides, I'll be walking you through the 12.5 million relating to our 2025 new initiatives. And this brings our total budgeted increase of 7.2%, and multiplied that by the 37% share of our share of the property tax bill. This translates to 2.7% City of Mississauga portion of the residential tax bill increase and 1.8% increase for commercial and industrial businesses on their tax bill. And as Mayor Parrish had highlighted, for every dollar that we collect, 37 cents goes to Mississauga, 47 cents goes to the region, and roughly 16 cents goes towards funding public education. So on the left graphic on screen, you'll see that the overall regional and city combined proposed property tax will increase for 2025 is 8.7%. And the region has just released their budget on November 7th and has presented a 5.5 average tax bill impact across the 3 local municipalities, Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga. But since Mississauga has a higher share of the region's levy, our residents' apportioned tax bill impact would be slightly higher at 6%. And the graphic on the right shows the estimated average combined tax bill increase of $511 for an average residential single-family home. So as mentioned earlier, 12.5 million of the city's budget increase this year relates to our new initiatives. And some of these initiatives are proposed to improve the safety of our city. And this would include our 30th FTE increase to the bylaw enforcement area and also additions to the animal services area to maintain and improve service delivery. And we also have a few fire stations that are opening. This includes Fire Station 124, and that's why additional firefighter FTEs are requested for 2025, along with other positions such as emergency vehicle technicians, training officers, and communication operators. And we also are proposing an 8% service expansion by adding service hours to improve capacity on major routes, resulting from anticipated increases in ridership. The capital infrastructure debt repayment levy is the city's key source of funding for our capital program. And for 2025, we are anticipating a gross capital budget of 610 million and a 10-year capital budget of 8.7 billion. And this slide here provides you with an overview of the city's key capital projects that are starting in 2025. Please note that many of these are multi-year projects and will be carried out over a number of years. And there are a number of new initiatives that were recently discussed at Budget Committee in the last few days. And at Monday's November 25th, next Monday's Budget Committee meeting, we will be presenting a revised budget and tax bill position after incorporating these proposed amendments from this week's discussion. So included in this this week's proposed changes is a number of items, including free recreation to older adults age 65 and over starting April 1st, 2025. And the committee also voted in support of service expansions for our winter maintenance program, including citywide windrow removal, secondary sidewalk clearing, and bike lane snow removal, as well as maintaining our vacuum leaf collection program based on the city's existing criteria. And back in September, our council also approved an allocation to the Flood Compassionate Grant Program. And yesterday, an additional $1 million allocation was put towards the Flood Resilience Rebate Program. And that is approved to reimburse homeowners to engage in flood prevention measures. And there were also changes to our parking policy, as well as increases to the allocation of culture grants to our community partners. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions along with others that are on the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marissa. As I mentioned, in addition, we have the ability to do quick polls. So let's do one now. I'm going to ask a question and then read out a few possible answers. You choose the one that best reflects your opinion by pressing the number on your phone keypad that corresponds with your answer. Please listen to all the answers before you make your selection. For those online, just select the option on the screen that best reflects your opinion. Here's the first question. Which of the following city services are the most important to you and your family? Press 1 for snow clearing, including windrow clearing. Press 2 for transit. Press 3 for subsidies for older adults, such as free transit fares, free recreation programs. Press 4 for vacuum leaf collection. Again, that question is, which of the following city services are the most important to you and your family? Press 1 for snow clearing, including windrow clearing. Press 2 for transit. Press 3 for subsidies for older adults, such as free transit fares and free recreation programs. Press 4 for vacuum leaf collection. We'll have another poll question for you later, so look for that coming up. Now let's get to our first question of the night. It comes to us online from Raina from Malton, who asks, why are my property taxes increasing in 2025? Councillor Butt, I'll turn it over to you first.
Taxes increase, whether we like it or not, every year, mainly due to inflation. Obviously, inflationary costs affect municipalities, just like they affect you in your own home. And of course, we have increased, pay to our employees, running our facilities, all the other inflationary costs that we have. One of the biggest challenges that we have as municipalities is our main only source of revenue is property taxes. And if we could get the senior levels of government to step up to the plate and provide more revenue to municipalities to help us pay for all kinds of expenses that we have, it would allow us to keep our property tax rates lower as we move forward. But I do believe, and I've only been the counselor now for 2 years on this council, but I think the history of the city of Mississauga under most of my predecessors, and including this council, has been very wise leadership in balancing, a property tax increase versus the services that I think the residents and businesses of Mississauga need and want to have. But yes, no one wants to raise property taxes. Councillor Dasco and I are probably the most fiscally conservative members of this council. We certainly don't want to raise taxes, but we are in a position where we have to be responsible at the end of the day, make sure services are well funded and delivered for the people that need them in the city. And I think what we're proposing this year for the city's portion of the property tax increase, I think is reasonable. I'm not sure if Councillor Dasco wants to jump in as well, but I think what we're doing is very reasonable this year. And I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question and for that answer, Councillor. I think we'll go to another question online, but before we do, I would remind everybody who is on the phone that if you press *3, you can put your hand up to ask a question where you'll join a queue and talk to an operator, and we'll try to get to your question live. Our next question comes from Naya from Meadowvale, who asks, what is the city doing to make housing more affordable for residents? Councillor Dasco, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Naya, for that question. And this is one that that has been a topic of great discussion, because we're trying to find ways of finding things a little bit more affordable for everybody, those that are in Mississauga and also those that want to call Mississauga home. And we're working closely with our provincial and federal government partners as well, that we're making sure that we've got a variety of housing stock that would be coming on the market and available, particularly for middle income households. And while we've got one level of government is not going to be able to fix this into itself, especially at the local level. Mississauga has been working on tackling the housing crisis and offering more choices for folks for many years. In 2017, as a matter of fact, the city came up with the Making Room for the Middle program, and this is finding ways to have housing that's more affordable for all. And at the same time, the city of Mississauga was one of the first to develop a housing strategy focused on middle income earners. And this is one that is a topic of great discussion right now. And we have our Commissioner of Planning, and perhaps Andrew, if you'd like to give us some of what's happening at around City Hall right now as well.
Councillor Dasco. So, as it relates to housing affordability, one of the big challenges for the city is to attract and build affordable rental. And so council recently has approved something called a community improvement plan, which allows council to offer incentives to those developers that build purpose-built rental at a very affordable rent. So that is one of the priority initiatives that we are hoping developers will take up, and will start building some more purpose-built apartments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Andrew, for those answers and for the question. Let's go to another question online, and then we'll go to some live questions. Our next question comes from Victor from Streetsville, who asks, as population density in the city continues to grow, what other transit investments is the city making to help move people around? Councillor Butt, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And we continue to make transit a priority in the city. That will not change. We have done, I think we've done a remarkable job on transit in this city. We're one of the few transit systems actually whose post-COVID numbers are way higher than our pre-COVID numbers. And that's because people are relying on MyWay. They depend on it, they support it, and they're using it. And so we as council are continuing to make sure we're providing the right investments to make sure that our MyWay transit system continues to operate effectively and will continue to do so. We've just had budget submissions from MyWay that have been excellent in terms of where we're going and where we've been. Of course, we're preparing as well for the eventual Hazel McCallion LRT light rail transit up and down Hurontario Street, which will integrate into our MyWay system within a couple of years. We continue to have the bus rapid transit system across the 403 corridor, which again has been another really good success story in transit. So I'll tell you, Mississauga is on the move as far as public transit is concerned, in my opinion. We're continuing to work with the senior levels of the government who often will come to the table and help us fund new initiatives. We'll be back to the table. I know our voracious mayor here will also be back lobbying the federal and provincial governments to make sure we're getting way more money back in Mississauga so we can continue to build a better and more efficient transit system in the city of Mississauga. But the actual transit budget request this year of Mississauga was actually very modest, very modest. Transit isn't one of the reasons why we're actually seeing a property tax recommended increase this year. My Way's done an extremely good job of keeping things at a decent level and making sure taxpayers get the respect because taxpayers do pay for some of My Way. And at the end of the day, the people who actually use it, the fare box, pays the other part. But I think we've been very impressed as members of council as to the progress My Way has made and the integration that they're going to have eventually with the LRT coming and the other transit initiatives that we're doing. I think we have an excellent transit system that continues to be built, and we'll move on.
Thank you, Councillor Butt. Sam Rogers, did you have anything you wanted to add from a My Way perspective?
Bob, and thank you, Councillor Butt, for the comments. Just to add a little bit of clarity around the specific 2025 budget request that the councillor's referring to. The city's been, consistently investing into My Way transit services, and to continue that, we are recommending and council's contemplating an 8% service increase for 2025, and that equates to an additional over 120,000 additional service hours and 93 new operators. So to Councillor Butt's point, the city's continuing to invest in transit and achieve, what our aspirations are, which is a true multimodal transportation system. I'll hand it back over to you, Rob. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sam. I have a feeling we'll have a number of transit questions this evening. We're going to go to our first live question. It comes from Paul, who has a question about the hospital funding that's being requested of the city of Mississauga. Paul, over to you.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how this has been factored into the budget. As far as I think, if I'm not mistaken, then we're talking about a $420 million deficit. Well, funding that Mississauga is going to have to contribute to the hospital that was not supported by the provincial government, and I'm just wondering how that has been incorporated into the 10-year capital fund.
Well, thank you very much for that question, Paul, and perhaps I'll turn it over to Councillor Dasco first, and then I'm sure Marissa, our CFO, may want to weigh in as well.
So much for bringing that up. It's very much a significant topic of conversation at City Hall. I know that that the mayor has been actively working on this file and liaising with the province. Make no doubt that we're all extremely committed to Trillium in terms of getting this hospital built. It is going to be the largest in Canada, and it will be delivering incredible service, not just at the city, but regionally and beyond. And so after a lot of consideration with mayor and council, council decided not to put this on the back of our taxpayers, which would be significant, and this would also create some constraints at the city level as well in terms of the types of services that we would be able to offer at a reasonable budget. I guess implication for all of our residents and businesses. And really, the position that was taken was that healthcare funding should be the responsibility of the provincial government, and using property taxes to shore up that funding we felt was inappropriate. And so our decision aims to protect the residents from substantial tax increase in property taxes, as I was mentioning. And so really, this is our commitment is to make sure that we have the hospital built, work together collaboratively. But also, we are going to continue to advocate for a fair and sustainable healthcare funding. That's going to be the benefit for all residents, and without putting any undue financial burden on top of on everybody. And we have a more equitable funding model that isn't going to put all of this right onto the Mississauga taxpayer. So we're going to continue working and collaboratively with Trillium as well. They've always been great partners, and we hold them very dear. And so this is something that we're working through right now, and we've got leadership with Mayor Parrish to help work on this on our behalf. But thank you very much, Paul, for this. And I'm not sure if there's any other comment that'd like to be made on this as well.
I think Mayor Parrish, Councillor Dasko would like to make a few comments as well. Mayor Parrish?
Yes, thank you very much, Stephen. That was a very good explanation. It's actually, to the caller, it's 450 million. And that's a heck of a lot of money. It's also a principle with us that they just started the Queensway addition to the Trillium Tribunal of Hospital Repairs, and they didn't charge them one penny because they are across the border in the city of Toronto. So we have a couple of things we're negotiating with the Premier on quite closely, one of which is, as was mentioned briefly about the LRT, Toronto and Ottawa have had their first 3 years of operation, which is very expensive, paid for by the province. We have not. We asked for it with a letter to the Premier today. Some of these things that if they come through for us, we will come back and we will look into doing a small portion donation to the hospital. But as of right now, we can't afford it, and you can't afford it. $450 million over 10 years is a lot of money.
Thank you very much, Mayor Parrish. Just as a reminder to everybody who is on the phone, if you'd like to ask a question, you can press *3 at any time to raise your hand and speak with an operator to be put in the queue. And if you're online, you can enter your question into the question field and we will try to get to it live as well. We're going to go to another live question, and this question comes from Rohit, who has a question about flooding prevention. Rohit, you're live. Rohit, are you there? Well, I don't think we can get Rohit online, so perhaps I will read his question and then we will get to an answer. His question is the city planning on allocating budget to prevent flooding? Councillor Butt, over to you.
Well, yes, we have approved already a program where we're going to provide support to those many houses that were affected during the flooding in the January 16th and August 18th floods. There is a full program. I would refer you to obviously our website to figure out what you might qualify for depending on where you live and the extent of the flooding that happened in your neighborhood. But I think council did a really good job responding. I mean, these were two very unique floods that I don't think we've ever seen in our lifetime. And it's unfortunate they happened back to back over 2 months. And I know my own community of Streetsville was significantly impacted, as I know many other parts of Mississauga were as well. I would just refer you to Rob, maybe can refer you when I'm done speaking, but let you know where you can go, the website, things are set up. Maybe the other staff here can help you out, but I just want to let you know this council responded very, very quickly to the issues that we knew were happening for homeowners and other residents across the whole city. I mean, we even had one nursing home in Councillor Fonseca's area that was completely wiped out because of these terrible floods. So I want to assure you the mayor and members of council were on this, and our staff were on this ASAP. When we saw the devastation of these floods, we came up with programs fairly quickly to help people out. And I would just refer you to, our website at the city and through our staff to make sure how you can qualify for those programs. But this council was on it fast to provide help and support to folks, and we continue to be with you.
Thank you, Councillor Butt, and perhaps Sam Rogers, our Commissioner of Transportation and Works, would like to weigh in with some more details. Sam?
Rob, and yes, just to build on Councillor Butt's comments, since 2016, the city has invested a great deal of capital investment into our stormwater infrastructure, over $230 million. That's all been funded through our stormwater charge that was implemented in 2016. And that investment in that infrastructure did go a long way to mitigate those 100-year storm events in July and August, and mitigated damage. Now, with that said, there's still plenty of work to be done. And to Councillor Butt's point, council responded, quite a bit. Marissa spoke about the new flood relief grant, our new subsidy programs that we're going to be introducing through this budget. And as well, we've increased our capital plan in 2025 in response. And that includes the acceleration of some major capital projects. One in particular is at the Dixie Dundas area. It's a massive flood mitigation project. We had it planned for over the next 10 years, and we're now going to accelerate it through additional investment down to 4 years. That's an example of council's response to it. So the short answer is yes, there's been a lot of investment prior to this year and even more in response to the floods. Rob, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Sam. As I said at the outset, we're going to do poll questions throughout the night, and we're going to go to our second one. The question is, how do you prefer to receive information about the city's budget? Press 1 for the city's website, mississauga.ca. Press 2 for in-person public meetings. Press 3 for the city's e-newsletter. Press 4 for social media. Again, that question is, how do you prefer to receive information about the city's budget? Press 1 for the city's website, mississauga.ca. Press 2 for in-person public meetings. Press 3 for the city's e-newsletter. Press 4 for social media. Let's go to another live question. This question comes to us from Bruno. And Bruno has another question about transit, as well as a question about work that's being done in South Mississauga along the QEW. So Bruno, over to you. Bruno, are you there? I think we may have trouble connecting with Bruno right now, so perhaps I will read Bruno's question and then we can get an answer. Why did the city spend so much of our budget on buses? I'm seeing a lot of empty buses. Can we figure out where these buses are actually needed? And the second question is, what is the purpose of the Queen Elizabeth Highway construction? Councillor Dasco, perhaps I'll pass this over to you first.
Well, thank you, Rob, and Bruno. Thanks so much for your question. It's the city has been and is committed to building out a robust transit system, as Councillor Butt was mentioning earlier, and this is one that we've gone in recent years into a grid system that we're building off and putting in more infrastructure to go with it. Also, we're finding that people are taking buses at different times of the day now. We do have an net increase in ridership, but people are taking them pretty much throughout the day and evening as well. And so that's really what you're seeing on that side. And overall, when it comes to my way, there's been an 8% increase to service that we're pledging, that's been pledged in 2024, and another 8% increase when it comes to putting that emphasis on transit in 2025, with getting more drivers on board as well, to be able to fulfill the increased demand. And then as well, I believe there's a part of the second part of your question here, is the purpose of the Queen Elizabeth Highway construction. This is one that is, I believe you're asking about the bridge that might be going over the Credit River. That's one that's a Ministry of Transportation initiative that's been going on for a while now. What they're doing is they're twinning the bridges going across, and so that is that's been an active thing that they've been doing. And then on top of that, they're building in some pedestrian cycling infrastructure that is going to go over the QEW as well. I believe that's what you may have been referring to. And I don't know, our commissioner might want of Transportation Works might have some further comments he'd like to just give out generally with regards to Bruno's questions.
Well, thanks very much, Councillor Dasco, and thank you, Bruno, for the questions. Councillor, nothing to add on in terms of the transit investment. The 8% is going to go to strengthening our network, and certainly, Bruno, if you're observing empty buses, we are a very data-driven service operation, and get buses to where ridership needs to go, and are constantly updating and refreshing our network to service our customers optimally. And in terms of the bridges, that's correct. It's an MTO project, Bruno. These are active transportation bridges at the QEW over the Credit River and at Stave Bank Road. And what you see in our 25 budget is our contribution to those provincially led projects. Rob, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thank you, Councillor Dasco. Just a reminder that if you have a question, you can press *3 on your keypad and you'll be routed to one of our operators so you can ask your question live. If you're joining us online, please type your question into the question field and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. Our next question comes from DeMello, who has a question about the snow shoveling budget for the city. DeMello, you're live. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, my question was, what is the annual budget for the Windrow Senior Program for snow shoveling, and what is the actual number that limits it?
Well, thank you very much for that question, and I think we'll start with Councillor Butt and then maybe to Acting Commissioner Rogers. Councillor Butt.
Thank you very much for the question. You might be happy to know that Council just voted at Budget Committee this week to extend our winter maintenance program, assuming full council supports that in a couple of weeks, to extend that so that we have full window clearing program and a full sidewalk clearing program going forward. Now that won't be till the next winter year, 25-26. But in the meantime, I mean, obviously we do have and have for many years had a program that seniors and others disabled individuals living in homes can apply for to support them if they need help in their snow clearing, etc. But I will pass that over to the Commissioner to give you the specific details on if you can apply, where you can apply, and make sure that you can get your coverage for this winter season. But going forward, I suspect in the future winter seasons that this will be completely covered through a citywide program. But Rob, back to you to maybe ask the Commissioner if he wants to give some specific information on the current program that we have.
Thank you very much, Councillor Butt, and over to you, Mr. Rogers.
Thanks, Rob. And yes, for the current 2024-25 winter season, the city, does have a driveway windrow snow clearing program that's available to residents ages 65 and older, and for persons with disabilities. And this year's program will assist 750 residents. I understand that we're not fully subscribed yet, so the fee is either $200 or free for eligible residents who qualify for financial assistance. And you can find the complete details available on the city website at mississauga.ca /windrow. thanks for the question, and I'll hand it back over to you, Rob.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. Our next question comes live, but the person has asked us to read it, so I'm going to do that now. It comes from Murali, who asks, there are lots of people who drive past on my street. Can you look into speed bumps or speed meters? And perhaps we can talk a little bit more about the traffic calming measures and the budgets associated. And Councillor Dasco, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. And this is one that I believe it doesn't matter where you are in most of the city. This is one that's been plaguing many neighborhoods. There has been a lot of work that's gone into traffic calming and traffic calming measures, especially over the past 5 years. You've seen an incredible amount of lowering speeds from the 50 default in neighborhoods to 40, and also 30 kilometers around schools. That's going to be very soon from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then 40 from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. And also we've got an automated speed enforcement program in place, and right now there's two per ward, and you're going to see that that's going to be rolled out and expanded upon very soon in the near future. And also that program you'll see going through some changes for the good to make our community safer. We also have a robust system of other measures. Speed humps or speed bumps, as they're called, that's one that we do get calls on. And I know depending on your ward councillor, this is where certainly you can have a conversation with them. And there is a dedicated group that is there for traffic calming and traffic safety that are committed to what's called Vision Zero, and making sure that we have zero fatalities for people that are on our streets, and so that's what we're very much committed to. And I would also suggest that contacting your city councillor is always the best place to start with that. I'm not sure if our acting commissioner Sam Rogers would like to mention anything else with regards to traffic calming as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dasco, and nothing really to add other than to emphasize that all of our speed mitigation, traffic calming measures are really aimed at achieving our Vision Zero aspiration of zero fatalities or serious injuries in the city. And we have a Vision Zero action plan with many of our 99 actions well underway. And Councillor Dasco, you named a few, and you'll see in our budget we're certainly going to be ramping up our automated speed enforcement this upcoming year. So thanks very much. Rob, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Just a reminder, if you have a question, please press *3 on your phone's keypad to be routed to one of our operators. And if you're joining us online, please type your question into the question field. Our next question comes live from Indrajit, who has a question about the value of property taxes increasing. Indrajit, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mayor and the council members for taking my call. My question is a multi-part. So first, the property the taxes that we're talking about, it is predicated on the value of the property, right? And that it goes up on an annual basis, and it is going up because that's the trend. So any increase in taxes is going to be a multiplier, and that is going to affect all of us and make us poorer. So that's one. And then before we increase any taxes, and I'm sure you have done it, that have we looked into the efficiencies that can be built in? Like I know that transport is great and we need it, but at the same time, what about the fare increase versus charging us? So just those couple of things, because any increase is going to impact us significantly given these times. So I would like to know from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the question, Indrajit, and I will turn it over to Councillor Dasco to start, and then I'm sure some of our staff may want to weigh in as well. Councillor Dasco.
Well, thank you very much, Indrajit, for the question. And this is one that we look at, and we want to make sure that that we come in with the most I guess, cost-effective budget that we can possibly come up with. What was actually started several years ago with the city, and the city has been a leader in this. It's called a lean program, and that's where department by department they go through finding efficiencies, and we have found millions of dollars of doing that. And this is something that I know Councillor Butt, myself, and others right around the council table, and of course the mayor is spearheading this as well to make sure that every service that we have offered, we're doing it at the best possible dollar impact to our taxpayer. And so that's very much top of mind when it comes to transit. Yes, transit is always one that we work on, finding that right mix at the fare box to see what people are able to do, because we also have that situation where if you increase things too much, you end up turning people away from taking transit, and so it's a fine balance. And this is where our My Way staff really are experts in finding that right mix, and then they bring that to council, and then we take that through careful deliberation as well. But also, I'd like to maybe pass this along to I don't know if our city manager, Jeff Wright,
Maybe
would like to
Councillor
talk about it.
Gaskell, Councillor Gaskell, Councillor Butt, if you don't mind me jumping on. I think the question was assessment on homes versus tax rates. I think that's what the question was, if I wasn't paying attention. So your assessment on your home, the value of your home, is determined by the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, MPAC, as most of we know it. So whatever value is attributed to your home, that is not decided by the city of Mississauga. That is an independent provincial organization that determines your house is worth $1 million. What we do at the city and the region is we then assess a tax rate based on our budget, based on what we believe we need to spend money on, based on the assessed value of your home. So we don't have any control over the assessment side of it. Now, in defense of the provincial government, they haven't done a reassessment in decades. So who knows how they're assessing your property today versus they did 20 years ago? I have no idea. But whatever assessed value your home is, all we do at the city and the region appeal is we just put a tax rate on that, and that's what your property tax bill winds up being. Staff can obviously jump in, but I thought I wanted to clarify that because a lot of people don't understand how it works. So go ahead, anyone else wants to jump in.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for the clarification. I'll turn it over to our city manager and CAO, Jeff Wright, to provide maybe a little bit more clarity on our process with respect to savings and lean. Jeff?
Thanks very much. And yeah, further to the question, part of it was around not only the taxes, which the councillors kind of spoke to, but also around efficiencies. And so each year, city staff are challenged to reduce costs by identifying efficiencies and streamlining processes through continuous improvement. And we've introduced lean into our organization, and that really helps us drive our review process. For example, in the 2025 budget, staff have identified about $1.3 million in savings, which will reduce the city's net costs by about 0.2%. And these savings were identified in most areas of the city. And just for general knowledge, since 2009, budgeted cost savings have totaled over $82 million. So quite significant from an efficiency perspective. So creating efficiencies in process to improve service delivery and to contain costs has become part of our city's culture. Many staff, as I mentioned earlier, are trained in lean, and that's utilized to streamline their work, improve customer service, and to drive efficiencies. So just a little background on that, Rob, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And I think that was a very robust answer all around. Just a reminder, if you are on the phone and you would like to ask a question, please press *3 on your phone and you'll be routed to one of our operators. And if you're joining us online, please type your question into the question field and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. Our next question comes to us live from Ben, who has a question about the LRT and adding more lines. Ben, over to you.
Yes, recognizing the expansion of housing that is to come about in both Port Credit and across the line in Square One. I was wondering as to whether or not. I was wondering as to whether or not the Hazel McCallion line would be expanded, especially due to concerns involving the Knightsbridge, the people of Knightsbridge, who have not been given a stop as of yet.
Well, thank you very much for that question, Ben. And I think we'll start with Councillor Dasco, and then I'm sure our Commissioner of Transportation and Works, Sam Rogers, would like to weigh in as well. Councillor Dasco.
Very much for asking that question. First of all, I will talk of Port Credit. I am also the councillor for Ward 1, which happens to include Port Credit in the ward, and absolutely, the ward has received over 40% of all the development applications, and it's a beehive of activity, and will continue to be for quite some time to come. Transit is always top of mind because absolutely there is some constraints with being close to the lake, and so this is one that has been talked about. For example, on the easterly side of Lakeshore, towards the Toronto border, there is a 2-kilometer, 3-stop bus rapid transit that is going through its detailed design right now. Funding has been provided by the provincial government to go through and do some of that work. So that is certainly one that's being talked about. Also, there's the Lakeshore Connecting Communities plan that has been put forward. Parts of that you're seeing coming to life. That's certainly one part of that. Also, increased bus service is another part, and as density comes, you'll see that. Brightwater, for example, which is at Mississauga Road and Lakeshore, also one that is currently right now with one. It's actually an electric shuttle that goes for the residents there. Takes people from those residents over to the GO train station and back again. This is a service that they're offering, and they are going to make that a little bit more robust with adding a second one on, and also some rideshare programs. Also, you mentioned with regards to downtown, the LRT. This is one that has come up from the province, working collaboratively with the city. We were going to have a loop put into downtown, and that was taken out of the original plans when that was funded, and so it is since we've had commitments to have that added back in, and I know that our city staff continue to work with Metrolinx in the province on that, and one other that I think is very top of mind for many right now is that other east-west connection, and that's with the Dundas Bus Rapid Transit, which has also had a commitment for some funding from our higher levels of government to come in and to provide those transit options, because you're 100% right. We want everybody to be able to call Mississauga home, but have to have the right mechanisms in place for everybody to be able to do that. And I'm not sure if there's any other commentary that anybody else here would like to provide with regards to transit. Maybe the acting Commissioner Sam Rogers.
Thanks very much, Councillor Dasco. And yeah, just to provide a little bit more budget specifics around the councillor's comments, you can have a look in our proposed budget in the transit section in our capital program for higher order transit. And regarding your question around expanding it, the councillor mentioned the Lakeshore BRT and the Dundas BRT in particular. Those are in our 2025 capital plan, and pleased to let everybody know that we'll be moving into design and hopefully some construction into the 2025 season. So you can find all the budget details there as well. I'll pass it back over to you, Rob.
Thank you very much, Sam. Our next question comes from Javier from Cooksville, who has a question about automated speed enforcement in the community. Javier, it's up to you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Dasco. And yeah, just to provide a little bit more budget specifics around the council's
Javier, are you there? All right, the question I will read is about automated speed enforcement in the community. Javier's question is, how much funding is being invested in this technology? And do you have evidence that it's slowing down drivers? Councillor Butt, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. I mean, I can only speak as one local councillor. I can tell you that automated speed enforcement program has made a major contribution, major difference to what we've seen in traffic management, speeds, and so on, particularly in areas around school zones. So the program is working. I know people don't like getting a ticket. I get it. I get the calls. But this program is working. It is reducing speeds in very sensitive areas of the city of Mississauga. And I can't speak for all of my colleagues on council, but I have anecdotally talked to them. And I think most of them agree that this program has been a success. Yes, we're going to continue to invest, and I'll pass it over to the commissioner to give you more specific details. But council's already passed and committed to increase this program, to have it in permanent locations, because right now it's been rotating around. But we will have this in permanent locations going forward. And if anyone ever asks you, does the evidence show it slows drivers down? Every counselor gets a report. Pre-ASC, during ASC, and post-ASC. And I'm going to tell you, there is no question. It is not even debatable that it absolutely slows drivers down in these areas where the AFC cameras exist. So I'll pass it over to the commissioner for more specific details. But I just have to tell you, from a community perspective, in my ward anyway, it absolutely works. Maybe over to Commissioner Rogers. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Butt. And yes, again, to add to your comments, as of August, we've completed enforcement at 143 locations, with 22 locations currently being forced and 18 additional locations prepped for deployment. And to Councillor Butt's comments, ASE has resulted in positive changes to our neighborhoods by reducing vehicle speeds by 9 kilometers an hour and increasing motorist compliance with the speed limit by 31%. And with respect to the 2025 budget, I can tell you that we have recommended a $7.4 million investment, and that's to support the transition to administrative penalties and the establishment of a joint processing center run here in the city that'll allow us to increase our capacity to deploy ASE, operate a little bit more efficiently. However, that's a net neutral, net zero cost, in fact, because all of that will be offset by revenues collected from the charges. And again, back to Vision Zero, this is what we're ultimately striving towards, and ASC is certainly proven to be an effective tool to reaching that goal. Rob, I'll hand it back over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sam. Our next question comes from May from Churchill Meadows, and it's online, so I'm going to read it. May asks, what is the city doing to address issues with illegal fireworks in the city? Councillor Dasco, I'll start with you.
Hi, May, and thank you very much for the question. And this is one all depending on the fireworks. The city does have bylaws in place to regulate fireworks. For example, city parks are no place for fireworks. They are not permitted. Where they are permitted is for example, at different holidays, and they can go on until 11 p.m. And this is, for example, they can be allowed on Canada Day, Victoria Day, Diwali, the Lunar New Year. These are times, for example, that they are allowed. There's also been other situations that they have been going off. I do know in in the Ridgeway Plaza area, for example, that has been a significant issue for Councillor Mahoney and also Councillor McFadden, for example. And the city has actually come in and now does have maximum fines for illegal fireworks set at $100,000. So the city does take it very seriously in terms of having illegal fireworks displays, and this is one that the city does very diligently. What I'd also like to say that we are adding on to our corporate security coming up in the budget, and this is to have overnight bylaw enforcement, and so you will be able to see a little bit more responsiveness to this as well. To report fireworks on public roads, please call Peel Regional Police, the non-emergency number, of course, which is at 905-453-3311. That's 905-453-3311. Or, of course, you can always call 311 or the city's website. You can just go right to that, and you can get it at Mississauga.ca. That's Mississauga.ca/fireworks. With regards to fireworks, I'm not sure if perhaps Raj, you would like to say anything on that.
I think Councillor Dasko, that the mayor would like to weigh in first, and then perhaps we'll go to Raj. Mayor Parrish?
We did a extensive study last year to look into restricting fireworks like Caledon and Brampton do as part of the region. And the lobby from the fireworks manufacturers was very overpowering. So we were convinced, not all of council was convinced to cancel them. We were pretty much convinced, though, that we needed to have one more year to test it. And we hired more bylaw officers in the evenings. We hired more people to answer the 311 calls, and it was still bad this year. So what I would like to do is bring the old study back, ask for our input from citizens that have had rough experiences with fireworks. Some wise person told me, I don't know why we put explosives in the hands of people who don't know how to use them. What I'd like to do is the holidays that are majorly celebrated, have them at City Hall with fireworks done by us, done by professionals, the money collected from the communities that want to donate and sponsor, and eventually take the fireworks out of your local neighborhoods. I'm not a killjoy. I love fireworks. It's one of my favorite things to watch. But I think it's time we've got to take care of the safety of all the people in this city that are using fireworks that have no idea what they're doing. And we have to also celebrate as a city, as we do on Canada Day, the celebrations that a large number of our population celebrate. So going to try it again, going to bring it back. I was just giving it a couple weeks for all the tempers to settle down, but I think we're going to go at it again, and I hope we're successful this time.
Thank you, Mayor Parrish, and thank you, Councillor Dasko. Those were very fulsome answers. We have a number of people in the queue, so I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. Our next question comes from Paul from Applewood, who is live on the line asking about leaf collection. Paul, over to you.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to thank the mayor and council and staff for making this opportunity available to residents. Just want to comment, first of all, on the Peel region issue. I guess it was raised in the budget, specifically with the police budget. I think it's disturbing to see that the 25% increase in the police budget. I just checked, and that's 46 cents of every dollar of the Peel budget that's going to police. And I'm not aware that crime went up 25%. Anyway, on a more local issue, the leaf vacuuming each year. I guess I was surprised to see that this made the priority, the top 4 priorities issues in the poll on this phone call. And so I'd like to see that the city do a review to either cancel this or to shift the burden back to residents to rake and bag their own leaves, which can then be picked up, by the regular yard waste pickup.
Thank you very much.
I don't see the necessity to spend money on this. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for the two questions, Paul. And I'm looking at the mayor here, who I think wants to start off, and then perhaps we can pass it over to Councillor Butt, and then perhaps to our acting commissioner, or then just to our acting commissioner. Go ahead, Mayor Parrish.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the question on the police services. It's a real serious problem to us. I sit on the police services board, and I'm the only one that voted against the increase of 21.3%. We all want to be safe. We all want to have enough policemen on the streets. But as you've pointed out, I haven't seen a major decrease in crime since the 15% increase last year. And this 21.3 is fully a quarter of the regional budget. The interesting part is Mississauga pays 62% of it and Brampton pays 38% of it. And we have similar population sizes. We have similar crime rates. So this is one of the things I'm trying to work on with the Premier to see if we can change the way it's calculated. Right now it's on property values. We have all the big water purification plants. We have all kinds of things that serve the whole region. And we have a lot of Fortune 500s head offices here. So our property rate's high on impact. But the people are the ones that are being policed. And if we've got the same size population, we've got the same size or horrible crime rate, I think we should be paying 50-50. I would be willing to go 51 us, 49 Brampton, and I'm working on it really hard with the Premier, and I think we're making a little bit of headway. Thanks for the question.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And Sam, I don't know if you would like to provide some comment about the vacuum leaf pickup.
Thanks, Rob. And so as part of the Budget Committee deliberations, staff did bring a report to a Budget Committee to consider some different options regarding our vacuum leaf collection program. Budget Committee, approved our option one, which you can see online, which is essentially maintaining the status quo of our program, and that that's a two-step approval process to be a part of that program. And essentially it centers around streets with mature trees of 35 years or older. And we'll go out and perform a visual inspection to confirm that the mature trees are located on the street. And then from there, we will deliver the service. And in 2024, we delivered the service to over 2,000 streets in the city, and we'll be maintaining that service moving into 2025. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much, Sam. Once again, if you're online and you'd like to ask a question, you can do so by typing it into the question field. And if you're on the phone, you can use *3 on your phone's keypad to be routed to one of our operators. We're doing our very best to get to all the questions, and we have a queue formed. So I'm going to go to our next question, which comes from Antonio, who has asked us to read the question. He says, regarding affordable housing, we pay a tax and there is a proposal to increase the property tax this year. How are we going to be able to buy houses and pay the taxes as well? Councillor Dasco, perhaps we'll start with you, and then maybe Commissioner Whittemore.
Well, thank you, Rob. Antonio, you bring up a very good point. It's property taxes certainly are one part of what we do have to pay, but I think a lot of maybe what you're referring to is from the income tax side of things, and there's tax of all different types, and it does make life challenging, especially when we've been experiencing a more significant amount of inflation over the past several years. They happen to be kind of coming off a little bit, but this is also where we really are very committed to having a full range of housing stock, and not only that, but coming up with budgets that really we try to offer the services that are best for everybody, and at the same time being very fiscally responsible. 37 cents, as was mentioned earlier, of every tax dollar that you put forward on your tax bills. So for that dollar that you have, 37 cents stays here in Mississauga. 47 cents goes up to the region, and then the balance is for education. And this is where there's a bit of a divide in terms of what we're trying to deal with. I know that the mayor was speaking about that a little while ago. Also, Councillor Butt was speaking about that. But this is where we're all pulling together to try to put forward housing of all different types, whether it's rental, it's ones that you can purchase of different types, but also keeping a keen eye on the tax dollar to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck while it's reasonable as well. And perhaps for some more commentary on that, I can pass it over to Commissioner Whittemore if you'd like to speak to a bit of it about that. Thank you.
Lardasco. So one key strategy in land use planning that we contemplate when we're looking at how our city grows and we think about taxation is we prioritize bringing employment to the city. When you have a lot of employment, which Mississauga does, it balances out the tax pressures that are placed on each individual property. So that's one of the critical strategies, is to always balance both the employment versus the amount of residential. But as far as really getting at affordable housing, this is a challenge across the nation. The mayor has established a task force of 30 very well-known developers locally here in the GTA to really explore how can we get a housing started and how can we deliver more affordable housing. So out of that process, we will be bringing forward a report with a lot of really positive recommendations. We believe that will kickstart, bring new supply online, new rental housing, and that in concert with some of the other bold initiatives that council has taken, including inclusionary zoning, which creates an affordable housing stock. We're making some bold moves here in Mississauga. Thank you for that, and back to Rob.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Our next question comes to us live from Linda, who's at Redwood and Commonwealth. Linda has a question about safety issues in her community, as well as parking and congestion. Linda, you're live. Linda, are you there? I don't hear Linda, so I'm going to read her question. If my taxes are increasing, why aren't they looking into safety issues in the neighborhood, such as parking and congestion? Perhaps I'll go to Councillor Dasco for this first. Councillor Dasco?
Well, thank you very much, Linda. And these are ones that that are certainly issues that I guess both on two different things. One on the safety issues. This is one that Peel Regional Police, as was just mentioned just a little while earlier, the significant increases for funding with regards to policing to try to provide a more robust policing in our communities. And also there are a few stations that are out right now that are trying something to get more boots on the ground, as they call it, in communities through a community integrated response team, CERT as they call it. So that is something that that is being rolled out as from our police officers. And then with regards to parking, there is going to be overnight enforcement that's coming up, and this is something that's part of our budget coming forward, to be able to have 24/7 complaints to be able to address those issues. And then as well, from a congestion point of view, this is something that as we've been mentioning, further investments into transit and also our infrastructure to deal with that as well. I'm not sure if our city manager would also like to make some comments on that. City Manager Wright.
Thank you, Councillor Dasco. And I guess just to build on your comments around the role of congestion and parking. And yes, it is something that we're definitely taking seriously in terms of our alignment around Vision Zero. and trying to manage the issues that are evident in our neighborhood. So you did mention the role that we're going to be undertaking in terms of parking. We have looked at options for increasing parking supply in neighborhoods to make it safer when we're looking at gentle infill within the neighborhoods. But also, we talked earlier this evening about some of the speed mitigation measures that are being implemented in terms of lowering of speed limits in residential neighborhoods, but also the role of automated speed enforcement to coincide with regular enforcement of speeding in the neighborhood. So I think I'll leave it with that, Rob, and turn it back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Our next question comes to us from Janice in Cooksville, who asks me to read the question, and she asks, are there any plans for financing accommodations for homeless people and refugees in this year's budget? Councillor Butt, I'll start with you.
Question, and for those on the line that don't know, the mayor and councillors in Mississauga were elected to serve on 2 levels of municipal government. So we serve at the city of Mississauga level and also the region appeal level. And the region appeal is made up of Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. And housing and homelessness supports are dealt with at the region appeal level. And I will say proudly that I think the region appeal has stepped up very strongly to the plate in the last number of years to provide immense support services under enormous pressure, particularly pressure we've had from asylum seekers who have come to the region appeal because the federal government has allowed individuals to come in and stay in our area without any support or very little support, and the region appeal level of the government has really picked up the ball. So we will continue. I think all members of council continue to be committed to providing appropriate homelessness and refugee support to individuals when they come into our region. But we are strained. Our shelter system is at, I think the last I heard, and Madam Mayor can correct me, we're at 400% capacity in most of our shelters. We've opened up 2 new ones in the region very recently to help with some of that backlog and pressure. But we are committed. We're a very compassionate group of people here in the region appeal in the city of Mississauga. We want to help people out where we can, but we need a lot more help and support from the federal and provincial governments as it relates to housing and homelessness supports. We can't fund that on the property tax base. But I'm not sure if any of the staff want to jump in and add anything extra on that. But I mean, this is the pressure we're dealing with. And again, we're going to be dealing with the region appeal budget over the next couple of weeks. And those costs are going to be borne by property taxpayers in the city of Mississauga, just like the issues that we've been talking about tonight at the local level. So I'm not sure, Rob, if anyone else wants to jump in, but that's my perspective on that. But we are doing the best we can to help and support folks that need our help.
Well, thank you, Councillor Butt. And I think our Commissioner of Community Services, Jody Robolos, may want to add a little bit of perspective from the city. Jody?
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Councillor Butt. You're absolutely right. It has been a tremendous strain on the region. We work very collectively with them, and some of the things that we do at the city is work with a program called the Open Window Hub, where we bring social services into our libraries and we provide access for people who need our services, and do that in conjunction with the Region of Peel. We've been working collectively with them on some protocols to access space within our community centers and within the broader community. And so I think as we move forward in the next year, you'll see a lot more collective work being done, but it's a huge challenge, and definitely want to thank the resident for bringing it forward. Thank you, Rob.
Well, thank you very much, Jody. And it's coming to that time of the night where we have our last question, unfortunately. But this question comes to us live from Rubia, who has a question about the misuse of pedestrian crossings by scooters. So, Rubia, you're online live. We can. Go ahead, please.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Go ahead,
Hello?
please. Yes.
Right.
Hello.
So, quick question. I am a senior living in Mississauga, and over the past 15 years or so, I have just noticed people using the pedestrian crossing used to be civilized. People would dismount from their bicycles. Parents would escort their children across. It's no longer that way. Parents are riding over with their children one behind the other, and now we have scooters who are not even looking. They're just at the same rate they come off the road. It's the same rate they just ride across the pedestrian crossings, and it's just an awful accident waiting to happen. And I'm just wondering, are we going to wait till something terrible happens before we begin to implement the regulations that are needed to protect pedestrians, because they are pedestrian crossings?
Well, thank you very much for that question, Rubia. And perhaps I'll start with Councillor Dasco and then perhaps Acting Commissioner Rogers. Councillor Dasco.
Hi, Rubia. Thank you very much for your question. And this is one where keeping our pedestrians and keeping everybody safe, going to and from where they want to get to and need to get to, is very much top of mind. So the city is we've come in with a few different things over the past few years. Some you might be seeing in your neighborhood. Some might be coming to your neighborhood. It's always best to check in with your counselor. But one, for example, is raised pedestrian crossings, and also what they call signalized mid-block crossings as well, to make sure that people, motorists, for example, can see that that people are looking to cross the street, and also forcing those that are in the area to slow down to make sure that people get across. I know that you mentioned a little bit on scooters and some other ways of people going, for example, across these crossings. And this is again, it's an education campaign that we do to get out to everybody. And clearly, we do some, but of course, more is always a good measure. And then. Having our crossing guards, especially at school time, to get our children to and from school safely in a much responsible way, I think is always the most important. There's also, with regards to scooters, just in general, there has been a pilot project, and this is where what they call our active transportation group, they're the ones that are actually overseeing and administering that. And as the program is being rolled out, they're also taking in feedback and making some changes to that program as well, to make sure, for example, people are not going across crosswalks and pedestrian crossings and things of that nature. So I might turn this over as well to our Acting Commissioner Sam Rogers to make some comments on this as well. Thank you.
And thank you, Rubia, for the questions and comments. I could not agree more in terms of your comments on pedestrian safety. Sidewalks are for pedestrians, and to Councillor Dasco's point, in large part that is an education effort and enforcement where education falls short. Bringing it back to the 2025 budget, just one other new initiative I did want to highlight was enhancing signalized intersections. Councillor Dasco spoke to some other investments in the 25 budget, but this one in particular, I think will address a lot of your safety concerns by, increasing accessible pedestrian signals, countdown signals for pedestrians, reflective backboards, and bike signals, as well as enhanced pavement markings that can clarify, where pedestrians ought to be crossing versus bicycles and e-scooters and other micromobility devices. And just to touch on the shared micromobility program, to Councillor Dasco's point, staff are monitoring this. This is a relatively new initiative that we've launched. We'll be reporting back to council at the end of this year, as a matter of fact, just on the status of it, how the shared system is working, and obviously safety of all of our road users is a primary focus, and we'll have lots of data to report back on both usage rates, but also safety and incidents. So stay tuned for that one as well. Thanks very much again for the question. I'll hand it back to you, Rob.
Well, thank you very much, Sam, and thank you, Councillor Dasco. There have been many great questions tonight, and I think it's been an informative discussion, but unfortunately we are out of time. But before we leave, I'd like to turn it over to the Mayor if she has any closing thoughts on tonight's session. Mayor Parrish.
Well, thank you very much, Rob, and thank you to Councillors Butt and Dasco and our 4 commissioners. But mostly, we want to thank the small army of staff who are handling the calls, making sure they get to the right people, and everybody gets on the air. They've done a great job. As you've heard tonight, we are committed to meeting the challenges that lie ahead for this city and for our constituents, and the ones that drive Mississauga forward with a well thought out budget. There are many ways you can stay informed on city budget processes. You can find more information on our website at mississauga.ca/budget. You can email your local councillor. Those are the people who know your individual communities best. And I encourage you to keep up to date on budget discussions by following the city on social media channels. And I thank you very much for tuning in tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Parrish, and to the rest of our panelists for joining us for what has been a really important discussion. And I do want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to participate either by phone or online. If you weren't able to ask your question tonight, please stay on the line where you'll be prompted to leave us a voicemail. Otherwise, you can email us at budget@mississauga.ca, and you can always visit mississauga.ca/budget to keep up to date on our budget proceedings. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.